Shabbat Shalom, Bruchim Habaim, welcome. Hine ma tov u'manaim, how good it is for us to be together. Whether you're watching online or you're in person, it's good for us to be together. Achim v'achayot, brothers and sisters. We know how much we need, and by family, that means all of Klal Yisrael, all of the people of Israel. It feels like barely a week passes without some new something going on about the Jews, whether it's, Amsterdam or whatever else, Chicago, there was an incident. And that's why it's doubly and even more so important to be together. So welcome. We're going to start our service tonight on page 13 with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeichem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We turn to page 14 for Yedid Nefesh, a 16th century poem speaking about the love between God and the Jewish people. If you don't know the words, that's fine. You can say Nein and I. That's perfectly acceptable as well. Yedid Nefesh av harachaman mishoch avdach el retzonach yaharutz avdach kemo ayal yishtachaveh el mul hadarach yerav lo yedidutach minofei tzuf vechol ta'am hadur na'eziv ha'olam nafshi cholat avatach Ana el narefa nala beharot lo noam zivach az titchazek vetitrapei v'haita halach shivchat olam Vatik yehemuna rachamecha v'chusana al bein ahuvach ki ze kamo nichsafti lihiro b'tiferet uzach ana eli Mahmad libi v'chushana ve'al titalam yigalena ufros chabibi alai et sukat shelomach ta'ir eretz mikevodach Nagila v'nismecha bach Maher auf kiva moed v'choneni ki me'olam. Yada nai 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 nai, 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 yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada nai 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 nai, 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 yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai. Yada die 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 die. We turn now to page 15 for Psalm 95, the beginning, the official beginning of Kabbalat Shabbat. Lechu niranena la'Adonai nariya litzur hishenu nikad mafanav v'toda v'zmirot nariya lo. We're 3 lines from the bottom on page 15. Arba'im shana akut bedor va'omar am to'e levavhem vehem lo yadu derachai asher nishbati be'api im yivaun el menuchati. Shiru ladonai, shir chadash, shiru ladonai, kol haaretz, shiru ladonai, bachru shemo, basru meyom leyom yeshuato, sapru vagoyim kehevodo, bechol ha'amim niflaotav. Ki gadol Adonai, hu me'olal me'od, norahu, al kol Elohim, ay, ki kol Elohei, hamim elelim, va'Adonai shamayim asa, hod v'hadar, le'efanav oz v'tiferet b'mikdasho havul Adonai mishbechot amim havul Adonai kavod va'oz yai nai nai yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai 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 nai. Let's turn together to page 18 and we'll read responsively in English. Psalm 98. Sing to Adonai a new song, for God has worked wonders. God's might has been triumphant, revealing supreme power to all. The whole world has seen the triumph of our God. Let all on earth shout for joy and break into jubilant song. Let the sea roar and all its creatures, the world and its many inhabitants. Adonai is coming to rule the world, to sustain the world with kindness, to judge its people with fairness. We turn now to the bottom of page 20, Ana Bekoach. Ana Bekoach, Bekoach. Gedulat yemincha, yemincha, tatir tzerura, kabel rinat amcha, sagvenu, taharenu, nahora. Hanna bekoach, bekoach, gedulat yemincha, yemincha, tatir tzerura kabel rinat amcha sagvenu taharenu nahora. Anna bekoach gedulat yemincha tatir tzerura Kabel rinat amecha, sagvenu tarenu nora. Yai nai 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 nai, yai nai 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 nai, yai nai 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 nai, yai nai nai nai. We turn now to the Chadodi. I have to say, for some reason, of all the prayers, the Chadodi just holds such a special place in my heart, and it's one of those things that it's ineffable. I don't know exactly what it is. I love the fact that when I start the song, it's Friday, and when we finish the song, it's Shabbat. It's the doorway. Just so many good memories of Kabbalat Shabbat. So we're on 21. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, Ushmo echad, L'shem ultiferet v'litila. Lecha dodi dodi, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mikor habracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat chila. Lecha dodi dodi, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, Kum mitzii mitoch ha'afecha, Rav lach shevet be'emek habacha, V'hu yachmol alayich emla. Lecha dodi dodi, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hina'ari me'afar kumi, Liv shibigdei tifartechami, Al yad beini shai beit halachmi, Karva el nafshi ge'ala. Lecha dodi dodi, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, Kiva orech kumi uri, shir daberi, Kivod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi dodi, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Lo tevoshi velo tikami, ma tishtochachi u'ma temi boch yechesu aniye ami v'nivneta ir al tila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. V'hayu limshisa shosayich v'rachaku kol mevalayich yasis alayich Elohayich kimsos chatan al kala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Yaminu smol tifrot tzivei et Adonai Ta'aritzi al yad ish ben parti v'nismecha v'nagila lecha dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. We rise as we face the entrance to welcome the Shabbat queen, the Shabbat bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'v'tzala toch emunei am segula. Boi kala lecha dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. All right, you may be seated. We turned to Psalm 92, page 23, the Psalm for Shabbat. Just going to take one sip real quick. Sorry. Mizmor Shir. No, but is that the one we do? Which one do we do? Mizmor Shir Le'yom HaShabbat. Tov lehodot la'Adonai. Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, lehagid baboker chasdecha, ve'emunatcha balelot, alei asor ve'alei navel, alei higayon bechinor, mizmor shir le'yom HaShabbat. Tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. We're 4 lines from the bottom on page 23. Tzadikata hamar yifrach ke'erez balvanon yiske shetulim beveit Adonai bechatrot Eloheinu yafrichu. Od yenuvun beseva, deshenim verananim yihu lehagid, ki ashar Adonai tzuri velo avlatavo. We are on page 24 for the Mourner's Kaddish, the Kaddish Tome. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah. Be'alma divrach yirusei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar, v'yit'aleh, v'yithalal, shemei dekudesha, brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. I don't know why that tune, if you grew up, Good Shabbos, there was something about that cadence. Well, that's a song, but I'm just talking about in talking. So, Shabbat Shalom. I was talking to my parents earlier today, and we were talking about Shabbat dinner. And I told them what I was about, and I asked them if they remembered this specific thing. My mother is to this day, a phenomenal host. She has, I don't know how many courses, how many side dishes. I think the record we actually, my siblings and I, we would count how many desserts there were because baking was her favorite. So one time we figured out what the record was for desserts in an evening, and the answer was 14. Homemade, 14 different homemade desserts. 14, 1, 4, 7 times 2. I don't know how many people. A lot. 40, maybe 40 people, something like that. Anyway, all right. It was not for my family. My mom was hosting somebody else's daughter's wedding weekend Shabbat dinner. Yeah. And in her desire to be a great host, if somebody, we had lovely tablecloths, lovely dishes, and if somebody was drinking wine and spilled on the tablecloth, this is exactly what would happen. She would go, and then she'd look to see who it was. And if it was a guest, that's okay. If it was a child, less so. She admitted, she copped to it. Years later, she has admitted, yes, the guests, it's, they're guests. They can do whatever they want. Children, no. You should not spill. And I always think about that when I think of this parsha, because I want you to imagine something. All right. Imagine if you're not feeling well. You're sitting on your porch or in your front room talking to somebody, and there's a knock at the door. You weren't expecting anyone, but there's a knock nonetheless. The question, how we would react, you're not feeling well, you've got somebody there. Well, this is exactly how our parsha starts. In the parsha, we see our father, Avraham, sitting in the opening of his tent talking to God. He's not feeling well. He's just had pretty major surgery for a 100-year-old. He had a bris, so he's recovering from his bris. And then he says his head was down because the Torah says he looked up, Vayisa einav, and he sees there are 3 men, nitzavim alav, standing upon him. They weren't literally standing on him. They were, travelers who were walking, but their appearance, just seeing them, meant they were standing on him for him. For Avraham, just their presence made a demand on him, right? The fact that he sees them, he feels compelled to be a host. He feels compelled to invite them in. The Torah tells us that Abraham's next move, after he's not feeling well, he runs up. He gets up and runs to greet them and says, please don't pass by. Please, if it be in your favor, your servant, all these things. So it means that Abraham is talking to God. That's who God, Vayara Abraham, he was talking to God in the opening of his tent, and he interrupts his conversation with God. Think about that for a second. He interrupts his conversation to go and take care of people. It teaches us something. It teaches us, for us right here in a shul, even if we're talking to God, even if we're praying, and we see somebody new, it should be as if they're standing upon us. It should be as if their mere presence compels us to action to deal with them. Because Abraham makes God wait while he takes care of the other people. He interrupted a conversation with God. And he says, he goes to the people and he bows to them. He says, Adoni, my master, if I have found favor in your eyes, please do not pass by a servant. Now, the Torah, as we have, you've heard me say that every translation is a commentary. If you read the English translation, it says that he's talking to the strangers. Please don't pass by your servant. According to Rashi, it's because Abraham is addressing the leader of the group, and he's only doing it in the singular, but it is in the singular. If I have found favor in your eye, not in your eyes, not plural, I think it's because Avram's actually talking to God. So here's the scene again. Avram standing in the opening of his tent, talking to God, sees people, runs to them and turns back to God and says, wait a second. Hold on. I've got to go help those guests. Right? And then the next thing he does is he prepares a meal. And he's got so much hospitality. He goes and he fixes all these different things, everything he can do to make them a guten Shabbos, a good meal, make them have his guests, right? Now, later in this parsha, we'll talk about it. We have a lot of discussion tomorrow. So these are 3 guests that come to his home. We find out later who they are. They're angels. And Avraham is not their final destination. They're going from him to where? to two different towns that God sets out to destroy, Sodom and Amorah, right? God is going to destroy Sodom and Amorah because they've become corrupt. They've become horrible towns. What's Avram's reaction when he hears that God is going to destroy the cities? He says, please, if I can find 50 people that are righteous, will you save the city? And God says, yes. And then he says, if I can find 40, and then 30. And what number do you think he ends on? 10, right? Which is where we get the concept of a minion. So he advocates and he argues with God, a God he's already interrupted in conversation and shown that he's okay doing for saving these people in Sodom and Amorah. And then even later, in the next part of the parsha, God says, take your son, your only son, your firstborn, Isaac, and sacrifice him. And what kind of argument does Avram put up? None. Sometimes we're more polite to our guests and we advocate and we're more comfortable advocating for strangers than we are for our loved ones. Now, there's another way of looking at Abraham and thinking Abraham always knew God was never going to require the sacrifice. It was never going to happen. When Avram and Yitzchak, when Abraham and Isaac are going on their walk and there's no calf, and Isaac says to him, Father, where's the calf where's the kid that we're going to sacrifice? Avram says God will provide. So there's some idea that Avram knew God wasn't going to ask him in the long run. Maybe. But also, when I mentioned that he gets up and he runs to greet these three strangers and he has a whole meal prepared, right? In that preparing of the meal, he's yelling at his household. He's yelling at Sarah and he's yelling at the servant. He's yelling at, right? Hey, kids, we have company coming. Come on, let's go. Sometimes we're more kind to strangers than we are to our family. And by the way, this is not just parents to children, it's children to parents. I've seen children, and I'm sure I'm guilty of this myself, I've seen children treat their parents the way they would never treat anybody else. And it's because of a great expression I learned many years ago. Anyone can push our buttons, but our parents installed them. Right? So you can be 15, 25, 45. Sometimes when you go back into your parents' house, you regress to whatever age you were when you were a high school adolescent, right? But the importance of this parsha is twofold. One, it shows that even if I'm in conversation with God, I can't be solipsistic. I can't think that that's the only thing that exists. The presence of other people makes a demand on me. Emmanuel Levinas, the great philosopher, used to say that merely seeing someone else's face makes a demand on me. Their presence means that I have a moral obligation to them. And that's the same with everybody who comes into our orbit. They don't have to be part of our tribe, part of our community, part of our family. They just have to be human. And we owe them something, right? Same thing with our family. The benefits of the doubt that we give to the guest who spills the wine, we have to give to our children. The benefit of the doubt that we give to anyone who's stuck in their ways, we have to give to our parents. And the benefit of the doubt that we have to give to anybody who's not living the life that we think they should, if there are children, it's their life. There's so many. This is what I love about the book of Breshit, right? We put the fun in families to dysfunction, right? Breshit is a great manual for what not to do when parenting, for how not to parent sometimes. We'll talk more about this tomorrow, but Shabbat Shalom. We continue our service on page 28. We're going to do the Baruch Hu on page 28. I'm going to ask you to please rise. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. Umavir yom umevi laila, umabdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzvaot shemaho, El chai v'kayam, tamidim loch aleinu, leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Hamari Varavim. We turn to the top of page 29. Avat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al Kein Adonai Eloheinu B'shochveinu uvekumeinu Nasiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha Uv'mitzvotecha Leolam va'ed Ki heim chayenu ve'orech yameinu ve'orech yameinu Uvahem nege yomam v'layla V'yavatcha al tasir mimenu leolamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Page 30 for the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha avaderech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha Ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem ve'asu lahem tzitzit al kanfei vigdehem ledorotam v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf betil techelet v'haya lachem letzitzit uritem oto Uzechartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam velo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei enechem asher atem zonim achareihem leman tizkiru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem Me'eret Mitzrayim lihiyot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet. The middle of page 32. Umalchuto b'ratzon kibul alehem Moshe b'nei Yisrael lachanu shira v'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi chamocha be'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh norati lot osef eleh Malchutcha ra'u v'anecha bokaim lifnei Moshe ze eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed v'ne'emar kifata Adonai et Yaakov ugealo me'at chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai Gal Yisrael. We're on the top of page 33. Hashkiveinu Adonai. Ushmor teitenu uvoenu l'chaim shalom etav olam ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha Baruch ata Adonai hapore sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We turn to the top of page 34. Please rise as you're able for the Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בימד יברכותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובחייכון וחי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן יהי שמי רב מברך לעולם ומעל מיה יתברך וישתבח ויתבר ויתרם ויתנשא ויתדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקדושה בריחו לעילם מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו amen. The silent Amidah begins on page 35 through page 38 for Friday night. Please rise as you're able for Aleinu on page 51. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latet gedula leotzer breshit shelo asanu kagoye haratzot velo samanu kimishbechot adama Shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'modim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Noteh Shamayim v'Yosed Aretz, U'moshav Yikaro B'Shamayim Mima'al, U'shchinatu zo, B'gov Hei Me'ero Mi'im, Hu Eloheinu Enod, Emet Malkeinu Efes Ulato, Kakatu B'Torato, V'yadatayom, v'hashevota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu Eloi, bam 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 b'shamayim mima'al, ve'al haaretz mitachat ein od. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Mourners Kaddish the Kaddish Tom. But before we do, a few announcements. You may be seated. The schedule of services tonight, services are at 7. Oh, wait, you're here, so you know that. Shabbat services tomorrow morning are at 10 a.m. They're live and live streamed. Friday, December 6th and Saturday, December 7th, services are on Zoom at 7 p.m. Friday and 10 a.m. Saturday. Sorry, not Sunday. All of our classes are on Zoom. Join Fran on Zoom at 7 p.m. on Thursday, November 21st. My Lunch and Learn on Zoom is on Wednesdays. November 20th is our next session. We're going to be learning about prayers. The next ritual committee meeting is Wednesday, December 4th, and the board meeting is Wednesday, December 11th. There's a book club, a significant book club. The Significant Jewish Book Club is beginning its 2024-2025 year with The Talented Mrs. Mandelbaum, The Rise and Fall of Organized Crime Boss. Cool. Okay. By Margalit Fox. Fran Landy will be leading the discussion on Thursday, December 26th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. And then the Hanukkah lighting is also that night on December 26th. Any other announcements? No. Okay. In our community this week, we commemorate the yahrzeit of Philip Leventhal, father of Mo Leventhal, Irene Golden, mother-in-law of Alma Golden Baranki, William Hornick, father of Tina Gustafson and Dina Marenstein, of Joseph Ettenberg, of Natalie Han Gustafson, mother-in-law of Donna Gustafson, of Sally Resnick, mother of Mort Resnick and mother-in-law of Ruth Resnick, of Nettie Fennick, mother of Elaine Hanig, of Selma Weiner, mother of Myrna Weiner, Viola O'Brien, aunt of Phil Barton, Gerald Landy, father of Fran Landy, Irene Rich, mother-in-law of Brenda and grandmother of Mark Rich. May all of their memories be a blessing. All who have a need or desire to say the Mourner's Kaddish, please rise on page 52 and we'll say it together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Amen. Kiddush. Let's make Kiddush. Vayerev vayivoker yom hashishi, vayichulu hashamayim va'aretz v'chol tzva'am, vayichalim bayom hashvi melachto asher asa, vayishbot bayom hashvi mikom melachto asher asa, vayivarach Elohim et yom hashvi vayikadesh oto, kivo shavat mikom melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. Savri chaverai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh Zecher lietziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, Mikol avat kodesh, be'ahava uvratzon. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. All right. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.